The story begins with a notification appearing on a girl's phone, displaying the message, "Guess what, people?" She was chatting on her phone, lost in thought. Did anyone realize that being loved was something destined at birth? As she stood by the window in her school uniform, she pondered whether anyone could truly believe that, while making a post with the words, "Did they know being loved was something that was destined at birth? And could they believe that?" She stared at her phone screen. Suddenly, a notification appeared. One of the comments questioned what she meant by "it's decided by fate." Another dismissed it, calling it nonsense. It was simply a matter of effort. The comment further argued that her friend had gained popularity after undergoing double eyelid surgery. It went on to add that looks were everything and that personality mattered too. The person being discussed should know the importance of charm. She read through the comments deep in thought. As she looked around her, then she responded by referring to the post uploader and comments that trying was meaningless. No matter how much effort one put in, nothing would change. One had to live with the appearance he/she had been born with. Slipping her smartphone into her pocket, she let out a sigh. The world has always been an unfair place. As she reached into her pocket again, she pulled out a Jellypop phone. How could the gap be so glaring and blunt as that? She kept on talking to herself. No amount of hard work could alter them. Those numbers represented the amount of love each person would receive in their lifetime, something only she could see through her old phone. A couple nearby caught her attention. The girl eagerly insisted on watching a movie and told her boyfriend that tickets were on her. Meanwhile, her boyfriend barely looked up from his phone. Observing them, the main character checked their numbers. The girl had received only 32 out of 728 likes. In reality, the love one gives doesn't balance out. The boyfriend casually shook off the girl's hand, apologizing as he claimed he had cram school. He didn't even look up from his phone. As the girl's expression fell, the boy simply smiled. The main character sighed at the sight. Just like there were people born into wealth, there were people destined to receive love effortlessly. Popularity was not determined by appearance, body type, or even personality. It was something people were born with. The numbers proved it. The boy had 10.3k out of 38.7k hearts, while the girl had only 32 out of 728. In a world where everyone either loved or was loved, where being loved was a skill and an asset some were fortunate enough to have from birth, looking at her own phone, she snapped a picture of herself. The result appeared immediately. Zero love. She stared at the screen, cursing the phone under her breath. No matter how hard she tried, it had already been decided how much love she would receive in her entire lifetime. There was a dark circle beneath her eyes as she smiled sarcastically. As Sue-Yi's hand trembles while looking at the zero, she wonders how not even one person could have fallen in love with her. Staring at her phone, she thinks the number is just too harsh. Many things had happened before she came to the realization that she would never be loved, and the 2 weeks leading up to it had been the most tumultuous time in her life so far. 2 weeks earlier, in a classroom where all the students were enjoying themselves, Sue-Yi sat at her desk, watching her friends. Two girls were smooching and taking pictures, while one commented that Sue-Yi's phone was great for selfies and that she should switch to that one too. Sue-Yi's friend called out for Ajin to look that way while taking a picture. Ajin kept on resisting to take pictures. Sue-Yi, seeing all of that with emotionless eyes, suddenly Sue-Yi notices that the picture at the back was torn up as if something had struck her. Taking the phone in her hand, she commented while crying and yelling that it was all crumpled. Her friends remarked, wondering what was wrong with her all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Sue-Yi replied that she had a boyfriend and couldn't stop thinking about the picture of her friend with her boyfriend. It was the picture from 2014, March 10. Tears welled up in her eyes as she recalls that, even though he hadn't been particularly kind to her, the sight of it still stung. Outside, Sue-Yi felt frustrated while looking at the boy patting a girl at her forehead. She thought about how her boyfriend Minu was just like that. While eating lunch, Minu gets up after finishing his lunch and leaves, as Sue-Yi mutters that she hadn't finished eating yet, wondering if he always finishes his lunch first. Sue-Yi calls out for Minu. She sees him walking with a friend. She thought he would just pick up his tray and leave, even though his girlfriend was still eating. As soon as classes ended, everyone seemed to be heading straight home. Sue-Yi hurried to pack her things and asked Minu to leave together, but he casually replied that he was going to the internet cafe. Frustrated, Sue-Yi yelled that he had promised to walk her home that day. She recalled the moment when she had asked him to walk together. Instead of answering properly, her boyfriend simply patted her head and and commented, "What was she, a kid?" In her mind, she fumed as she watched him leave for the internet cafe without even a second glance. Before leaving, Minu told her that she could walk home by herself and that he would see her later. Left alone, in the next scene, in the playground, Soo-ae stood there as students played football nearby. Someone called out for her to watch out just as the ball came flying toward her. It struck her head, making her stumble. A boy rushed toward her, and for a moment she thought Minu would check on her. However, as she called his name, Minu was instead yelling at his teammate, calling him useless because they had lost the game due to him. Soo-ae stood there, stunned, realizing that he was more upset about losing a soccer match than seeing his girlfriend get hit by the ball. Yet despite everything, she was still stupidly in love with him. When he later handed her a drink, Soo-ae felt happy. Minu tells Soo-ae that he had brought it for her since she had skipped lunch for the art club that day. Overjoyed, she hugged him, calling him the best. Meanwhile, the other girls in the class whispered among themselves, "Soo-ae has no self-respect. How can she forgive all his rude behavior after something so small?" one of them remarked. Another girl added, "Soo-ae knows she wasn't good enough for Minu anyway. No matter how much Soo-ae likes a Minu, she could never stand such a relationship." Soo-ae, cherishing the milk drink, continued looking at the drink in her hands. Suddenly, a boy walked up to her and asked, "Did Minu give her that?" as he picked it up and opened it. Staring at her, he questioned, "Does looking at Minu gift make her happy? That should have been for lunch, so why was she still saving it?" Before she could respond, he started drinking it himself. "If she was not drinking it, he would," he said casually. Soo-ae immediately got up, yelling at him, demanding that he give it back while cursing him. The boy, in return, yelled back, asking why she was cursing him. As he raised his hand, it was stopped by someone. A boy called out his name, Cholmin, and told him that he had almost whacked him. Looking at the boy who intervened, placed the drink back on the table and remarked, "He knows how many people would be devastated if he got a scratch on your face. Be more careful." Soo-ae glared at him, feeling uneasy. Something about him made her uncomfortable. That was right. Eunhyeok always made her feel on edge, even though he was Minu's best friend. Despite being around each other often, they had never really had a proper conversation. But it didn't matter. Whenever Minu treated Soo-ae poorly, Eunhyeok always looked at her with that gaze, a gaze that clearly told her how pathetic she was. Back then, she never would have guessed that she would one day cheat on her boyfriend with Eunhyeok. As Soo-ae picked up her drink, she reflected on how her quiet life had suddenly turned into a love affair all at once. Watching the boys leave, she realized this wasn't something she had wanted, especially so early in March. Later that day, while at home, Soo-ae discovered that her chips packet was empty. She remarked in surprise, wondering if they were all gone already. Deciding to go to the supermarket to buy some snacks, she was shocked to find her friend, Ra-im, there. Calling out to her, Soo-ae asked what she was doing at the supermarket and whether she was on a study break. Ra-im, noticing Soo-ae's poke chips, smiled and teasingly commented on Soo-ae coming out to buy chips again. Soo-ae then asked if Ra-im was also taking a break, to which she agreed, mentioning that they would have to go back soon. Soo-ae, realizing she was going to be late finishing her errands, asked if she should pick Ra-im up later. However, Ra-im assured her that it was fine, as someone was already going to walk her home. To Soo-ae's surprise, it turned out to be Eunhyeok. That made Soo-ae wonder if they had been attending the same cram school without her realizing it. As they made eye contact, Eunhyeok suddenly glanced at her pants, making Soo-ae realize she looked like a complete mess. Feeling embarrassed, she thought to herself that it was quite an awkward situation. She then speculated that perhaps Eunhyeok liked Ra-im. Observing the way they smiled at each other, Soo-ae considered that Eunhyeok wouldn't be the first guy to like Ra-im. Though she found it surprising, it wasn't unexpected. Ra-im was a total package. She was pretty, confident, always got good grades, and had many friends. Of course, to Soo-ae, Ra-im was like a younger sister who had everything. However, she wasn't actually her biological sister. They were foster siblings, but since they were the same age, they were often mistaken for twins. At home, they even had pictures together, reinforcing their bond as family despite not being related by blood. While at home, Soo-ae asked Ra-im what she wanted to eat. Ra-im, brushing her teeth, smiled, and responded casually. Seo-ie, watching her, thought that if their lives were like a web novel, Ra-im would undoubtedly be the female lead. Apologizing, Ra-im mentioned that she had already started brushing her teeth. Seo-ie thought to herself that Ra-im was not only beautiful and kind, but also had a tragic backstory. Even her name sounded elegant. As Seo-ie started eating, she reconsidered, thinking that perhaps Ra-im would be better suited to play the male lead's ex, rather than the female lead. After all, female leads in such stories were usually quite ordinary. In that case, Seo-ie believed she would fit the role perfectly. Later, as Soo-ie and Ra-im lay on the bed doing their skincare routine, Ra-im opened up about her past. She explained how her father had left her mother upon discovering she was pregnant, leaving her mother to raise her alone. Her mother had suffered a lot but had persevered until her unfortunate passing in an accident. Listening to that, Soo-ie looked at her, feeling a deep sadness. She thought about how painful it must have been for Ra-im to go through so much. Overcome with emotion, Soo-ie hugged Ra-im tightly. Though Ra-im didn't cry while telling her story, Soo-ie found herself tearing up. Ra-im hugged her back, and Soo-ie felt reassured that there were no secrets between them. As they embraced, someone suddenly called out, referring to Ra-im as little sister. A deep silence followed before Soo-ie was asked how old she was and whether she was in middle school. Shocked by the question, she heard a boy laughing loudly before calling out to Eunhyeok, asking if he was being serious. Another girl, annoyed by the laughter, told the boy to calm down, questioning if he was in elementary school. Eunhyeok then clarified that they were all in the same class. He acknowledged that the semester had just started, but expressed surprise that Soo-ie didn't recognize him. Apologizing, he mentioned that it was probably her hair that had thrown him off. Soo-ie, baffled by his words, thought to herself that it summed up her first impression of Eunhyeok. Back in the classroom, Soo-ie was asked to collect all the notebooks and bring them to the teacher's office. While counting them, she realized one was missing and wondered who had yet to submit theirs. Looking around, she noticed Eunhyeok still writing, his earphones in one ear. Soo-ie called out to him, informing him that he hadn't submitted his notebook yet. However, he remained silent. Soo-ie questioned whether he was pretending not to hear her, but since he had only one earphone in, she knew he had to have heard her. Frustrated, she decided to pick up the notebooks, though she found it difficult to carry them all. Suddenly she dropped them, muttering to herself that she really didn't like that guy. From behind, someone spoke up, explaining that Eunhyeok usually didn't respond when he was focused on his studies. She then suggested that if Soo-ie wanted him to notice, she would have to go up to him directly. Soo-ie, annoyed by the advice, sighed and wondered if she really needed to go through all that trouble. Picking up the notebooks, she decided that if he was so determined to ignore her, he could bring it himself. In the teacher's office, Soo-ie submitted the collected notebooks. The teacher thanked her and told her she could leave them there. As she opened the door to leave, she found Eunhyeok standing right in front of her. Glancing down, she saw that he was holding his notebook. Feeling slightly guilty, Soo-ie realized it might have looked as though she had intentionally ignored his submission earlier. She remarked that she had asked for his notebook earlier, but since he hadn't responded, she had assumed he was ignoring her. Without a word, Eunhyeok simply submitted his notebook and left. Soo-ie, standing there in confusion, thought to herself, what the heck was that? She wondered whether she was at fault for the awkward interaction. He was friendly and playful with everyone else, yet he seemed so distant and rude with her. Next day, outside the school, Soo-ie Ra-im along with Minu was standing outside the school as Ra-im was fixing her short skirt. Soo-ie then asked why Ra-im didn't just wear a long skirt. Ra-im responded nonchalantly, saying that long skirts weren't cute. Handing her bag to Soo-ie, she expected her to carry it. Annoyed, Soo-ie remarked that it was a nuisance every morning, as Ra-im always did that. Ra-im, smiling, reassured Soo-ie that everything was done and suggested they go. As the Soo-ie told her not to change the subject, Ra-im started sweating and told her to wait, as she mentioned that she had been missing her tie. The Soo-ie then yelled that she had been so occupied with another skirt that she had forgotten about it. Suddenly she realized that she had also forgotten her tie. Both of them looked at each other as Minu remarked, wishing them good luck, stating that he would be going in first. He mentioned that he needed to get going, prompting the CUAE to remark on what kind of gentleman he was. Rak, a remark she knows, right? With tears in her eyes, the CUEA thought to herself, wondering whether the head of discipline would be waiting at the gate that day. Suddenly, someone bumped into her, causing her to fall down. She muttered that he was definitely going to make them run laps for sure. As she fell, Eunhyeok apologized to her, while Ra-im greeted him and questioned why she had been standing there. Ra-im then revealed that they had forgotten their ties. Ra-im remarked, questioning why it had to be the head of discipline at the gate, mentioning that he had even slacked off earlier. At that moment, Eunhyeok took out his tie and handed it to Rian, telling her that she could use it. The Sui was shocked by the gesture, while Rian questioned what he would do without it. Eunhyeok responded, stating that he had planned on running laps before class anyway. Rian, skeptical, remarked that he had to be joking and warned him that she wouldn't return it as she took Rian's tie, put it on, and told the Sui that she would be heading on ahead, wishing him good luck. Eunhyeok and the Sui were left alone, leading the Sui to remark that the situation was frustrating. The head of discipline then announced that the last 3 of them would be required to complete 3 extra laps. As the SUAE struggled through the laps, she remarked that she had ended up with additional ones for being too slow. After finishing, she opened her locker, thinking about how exhausting it had been, only to find an old cell phone inside. She questioned why a Jellypop phone was there, and wondered what an artifact like that was doing in her locker. She then considered whether it belonged to Eunhyeok, as he was the only one in her class who still used a 2G phone, supposedly to help him focus on his studies. Suddenly, the SUAE received a text from an unknown number instructing her to check the photo album. She wondered if the message had been meant for her when another notification arrived, confirming that it was, and specifically addressing the funny-looking girl with short hair. As she opened the album, she was stunned to discover that all the pictures were of her. She immediately questioned what kind of psychopath had taken them. At that moment, someone remarked that the phone belonged to Eunhyeok. Shocked, the SUAE questioned what was going on, while another girl asked why she had it, implying that they must have been close. Feeling unsettled, the SUAE left and approached Eunhyeok, showing him the phone and asking for an explanation. She questioned him about the photos, but Eunhyeok, confused, asked what she was talking about. The SUAE blushed, accusing him of taking her pictures without her permission. However, as she looked through the phone, she found nothing, making the SUAE wonder what was happening. Just then, another message arrived, warning her that she had a rather big mouth. A follow-up message stated that everything from that moment on had to remain a secret, emphasizing that she should not tell anyone. It warned her that she had no idea what might happen if she did. As the phone screen displayed the words, "Game over," the SUAE wondered if it had been a threat. Another message appeared, reassuring her that there was no need to worry, claiming that it was there to help her. Confused, the SUAE questioned who or what it was. As Eunhyeok remarked, what that was and if she had gotten a new phone or something. SUAE was shocked by their reaction, while everyone around wondered what was wrong with her since she had suddenly gotten mad for no reason. SUAE thinks if it wasn't Eunhyeok, but she couldn't think of anyone else who would do something like that. While the teacher was teaching, SUAE was lost in her thoughts, feeling that something was off. Even during class, SUAE started eating her nails as she couldn't shake the strange feeling. SUAE thinks that she had been holding the phone the entire time, so how had the photos just disappeared like that? What exactly was going on? As she pondered these questions, her phone received a notification. Taking it out from her pocket, she looked at the screen. A picture of a teddy bear appeared along with a message that read, "Poor she." Shocked, SUAE wondered what that meant and suddenly realized that it was the present she had given Minu. Looking toward Minu, she noticed something strange. As she focused on his bag, she saw nothing at first, but then spotted the missing teddy bear. Recalling how she had given it to him, she pointed it out and reminded him that it was a gift from her. Minu glanced at her, glaring, and referred to her as childish. Offended, SUAE argued, asking what he meant by that. She then told him that he should attach the bear to his school bag. to which he reluctantly agreed. Feeling satisfied, Soo-ae childishly left, remarking that she would see him tomorrow. Minu muttered about how childish she was. Just then another notification appeared on her phone, asking if she still believed that her boyfriend liked her. Soo-ae felt uneasy and told herself to stop thinking about such useless thoughts. She shook her head, convincing herself that the teddy bear must have simply fallen off his bag. The phone's messages continued, questioning who she was and whether she found that funny. It even asked if she wanted to know who the sender was. When the reply arrived before she even sent her text, Soo-ae finally realized what kind of strange situation that was. Later, during the break, Soo-ae went to the girl's bathroom. She threw the phone into the dustbin, thinking that should put an end to it. However, her attention was soon caught by the sight of Ra-im and Minu. She called out to him but noticed how cheerful they seemed together. They were clearly enjoying each other's company, with Minu holding her tightly. They were even linking arms. As Ra-im spotted Soo-ae and waved at her, she suddenly recalled the message on her phone that had questioned whether she still believed her boyfriend liked her. The words echoed in her mind as she found herself questioning why that message was bothering her so much. Back in the classroom, Soo-ae was deep in thought. Was that a stalker? A hacker? Or was there some kind of ghost inside the Jellypop phone? None of it made sense. Just then, someone called out to remind the teacher that he had forgotten to check their homework. The teacher agreed and instructed everyone to turn to page 47 in their workbooks. Some of the students commented to Eunhyeok about how uncool he was, while he casually responded that they should just do their homework on time. Soo-ae glanced in his direction, suspecting that he might be involved. As Soo-ae and Eunhyeok made eye contact, she thought about how the sender must be someone who knew her well. Memories of her friend's past remarks resurfaced. One had said that she didn't think Minu was great boyfriend material, while another had added that, from the way things seemed, Minu didn't even really like Soo-ae. She also remembered a conversation with Ra-im one night, where Ra-im had remarked that Minu had canceled their plans again. She had reassured Soo-ae, telling her not to cry and even offering to yell at him on her behalf. As Soo-ae recalled all of that, another realization struck her. Whoever was behind the messages clearly knew that she liked Minu more than he liked her. As she processed that thought, she made eye contact with Eunhyeok once again. He then asked her what was wrong. Soo-ae thought about how the same person sending those texts was someone who used a retro Jellypop phone, something no one else had these days. She quickly looked away, thinking about how rare Jellypop users were nowadays. Suddenly, a familiar ringtone played from the phone. The teacher, visibly annoyed, demanded to know who hadn't turned in their phone yet and ordered them to bring it to the front immediately. Soo-ae watched a student stand up and walk toward a locker. To her horror, the student pulled out a Jellypop phone. Her heart pounded as she realized what was happening. The students started gossiping that it was a Jellypop phone. Wasn't it Eunhyeok's? But what was it doing in Soo-ae's locker? Shocked and sweating, Soo-ae stared at the phone, trying to comprehend how it had ended up in her locker again. She kept thinking, what was going on? As the Soo-ae was wondering why the cell phone she had thrown away earlier was now in her locker, the teacher asked Eunhyeok if it was his phone. However, he replied that it was not, showing that his own phone was still with him. Eunhyeok remained indifferent, and the teacher questioned how he still had his phone with him. Without much reaction, Eunhyeok and the Soo-ae were informed that their phones would be confiscated and they could retrieve them after class. Feeling frustrated, Eunhyeok regretted the situation and muttered curses, wondering what had just happened as their phones were taken away. The teacher then turned to Eunhyeok, asking if he had a problem with it. Meanwhile, the Soo-ae was preoccupied with thoughts about how the Jellypop she had secretly discarded had somehow found its way back to her. The teacher went on to explain that the phones had not been confiscated without reason. It was meant to help them concentrate better in class. He pointed out that focusing without the distraction of their phones was easier, wasn't it? As the teacher continued lecturing, they kept nodding along absent-mindedly. When asked if they understood, they simply responded with a yes. As the teacher dismissed them, the Soo-ae glanced at her phone and saw a notification suggesting they visit an internet cafe that day, leaving her surprised. Suddenly, Eunhyeok called out to her, telling her to wait, and after a brief moment, he handed her a phone, saying that one was his. The Soo-ae thanked him, but was soon distracted by another notification on her smartphone. It was from her boyfriend, informing her that he wouldn't be able to hang out that day because his tutor was coming over. Soo-ae gets pissed off by it. Eunhyeok meanwhile looked at his phone and suddenly questioned what she even liked about Minu. Taken aback, the SUAE asked why he even cared. He shrugged it off, stating that he was simply making small talk and had no real interest. His body language, however, suggested otherwise. Annoyed by his attitude, the SUAE silently cursed him for brushing off the conversation. Just then, Eunhyeok received a call, answered it, and assured the caller that he would be there soon. As he was leaving, he casually asked how long they were planning to stay. The CUAE, still irritated, checked her phone and saw yet another notification, that time regarding the internet cafe/girlfriend. Frustrated, she then received another message, ha 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 ha, followed by another one questioning why she even wanted to be with him. Back at home, when they were having dinner, Suye told Ra-im that something unusual had happened that day. When Remy asked what it was, the Suye revealed that someone had left a phone in her locker and showed it to her. Remy immediately recognized it and commented that it looked like the Jellypop. It may belong to Eunhyeok. The Suye replied that initially thought so too, but explained that it was not. Remy then asked who it could belong to. The Suye admitted that she had no idea but suspected it might be Eunhyeok. However, Remy pointed out that Eunhyeok had denied it. The Suye acknowledged that but expressed her doubts, believing that he was lying. Determined to uncover the truth, she resolved to catch him in his lie the next day. The following day, heavy rain poured outside while the indoor basketball court remained filled with students. The teacher addressed the class, questioning who had assumed that PE would be canceled just because of the rain. He then declared that those who hadn't changed into their gym clothes would have points deducted. The students protested, arguing that PE had been canceled the last time it rained. The teacher, however, dismissed their complaints, telling them to be quiet before calling out their names and student numbers. As the class continued murmuring among themselves, someone suggested that they should just drop PE altogether. The teacher questioned who it was, then after that announced that they would be playing partner dodgeball that day. Everyone was instructed to find a partner. The SUAE, scanning the room for a potential teammate, found herself questioning how she had ended up paired with him again. Lately, no matter where she turned, he seemed to be there, and now once more, she was standing across from none other than Eunhyeok. Still doubtful, the Suae asked if he was really number 18. Without saying much, Eunhyeok showed her his slip, confirming that he was indeed her partner. He then asked how she wanted to play the game. Suae, slightly confused, asked what he meant. Eunhyeok clarified, wondering if they should go all in or take a more strategic approach. Eunhyeok, considering the options, suggested that they could hang back for a while and then pretend to be out in the middle of the game. Suae was amazed, glaring at the person in front of them while thinking that lying must just be a part of his daily life. Suae questioned whether Eunhyeok actually believed it would work, to which Eunhyeok replied that it was fine if she wasn't confident in her acting skills. They should just play normally. Suae continued to glare, feeling irritated, and wondered why he was suddenly acting so friendly. At the same time, it felt awkward to be paired with him. The thought of wanting to be partnered with Minu instead crossed Suae's mind, but reality set in. Minu was on a different team. While trying to accept that fact, tears welled up in Suae's eyes as the realization hit even harder. Suae imagined that Minu himself was sad they were opponents that time, yet there he was, cheerfully enjoying the game with his partner. The sight was enough to irritate Suae, who couldn't help but question what Minu was even doing. Out of nowhere, a ball came flying straight towards Suek. Without thinking, Suek instinctively grabbed Eunhyeok. Witnessing the moment, casually remarked that he hadn't expected Suek to be that desperate to win. Suek, still hiding behind Eunhyeok and gripping his jacket, quickly responded, saying that winning didn't really matter. However, their actions contradicted their words as she continued using Eunhyeok as a shield. Eunhyeok, shaking off Sue's grip while adjusting his hair, sighed and asked whether Sue was trying to rip his clothes or something. He then pointed out that Sue seemed to be stretching them out too much and should let go already. Before Sue could react, someone called out, yelling for them to hurry up and finish Sue off. The person suggested hitting Sue as hard as possible with the ball and aiming directly at their legs. Hearing that, Sue was left in shock. Kill? Hit? Who would say something like that? But upon looking, it turned out to be none other than Minu Sue's boyfriend. That fact alone made Sue feel even worse. An odd feeling of discomfort settled in. Was she really his girlfriend or not? And more importantly, why did that whole situation feel so upsetting? Meanwhile, the other girl was clinging on to Minu, making everything even more unbearable. Su-ae couldn't understand why it was bothering them so much, but the more they thought about it, the more frustrating it became. Before Soo-yeok could process any further, an overwhelming wave of anger took over. Eunhyeok, noticing Soo-yeok's frustration, spoke up, warning that she had better not dare to give up now. He told her to hang in there, reminding her that it would be a shame to lose when they were so close to winning. He even suggested hiding behind him. Soo-yeok, still pissed, snapped back, telling Eunhyeok to quit being so dramatic. He was the one who needed to stop talking and focus on the game. Just as Su-ae finished speaking, another ball came flying straight toward them. Eunhyeok barely had time to react, muttering in disbelief about what was going on. It soon became clear that the opposing team was deliberately targeting them. Minu grabbed a ball in his hand, preparing to throw it. Su-ae, sensing the incoming attack, readied herself. However, as Minu was about to strike, Eunhyeok suddenly intercepted, catching the ball mid-air. He looked straight at Minu and questioned whether he realized that was a bit too strong for Su-ae. Su-ae, with tears in their eyes, couldn't help but think about how much that situation sucked. Eunhyeok, without hesitation, handed the ball to Su-ae and asked if they wanted to take revenge. He reassured them that it was fine if she didn't want to, but before he could even finish, Su-ae grabbed the ball, her determination flaring. Without hesitation, she threw it, declaring, "Who said she didn't want to?" The ball hit Minu's partner directly on the forehead. A quick apology was muttered, but before Su-ae could react further, Minu, Su-ae's boyfriend, immediately confronted her, demanding to know what she was thinking by throwing it so hard. Su-ae, looking back at him, found herself questioning why he cared so much. Why did it matter if she threw the ball hard, and more importantly, why did all of that feel so damn frustrating? And there was silence in the room. The Suae replied that no, and then explained that they were the ones who had thrown the ball hard at them. Her boyfriend questioned whether she was making excuses at that moment and remarked that if she had hit someone in the face, shouldn't she at least apologize? Su-ae thought to herself that, of course, she felt sorry for hitting him in the face, but was it really necessary for her to be confronted like that in front of everyone? Was it truly necessary for him to be so serious and demand an apology? She was just his classmate, while Su-ae was supposed to be his girlfriend. As everyone continued watching Su-ae, the student called out to them, pointing out that those two were fighting. Another one clarifies that it was one side beating. She apologized, but Eunhyeok remarked sarcastically, questioning whether she had committed a crime or something and why she was being pressured to apologize to such an extent. Then Eunhyeok remarked that such things happen in ball games, so what exactly was he expecting? If he followed his logic, then everyone on their team would have to apologize to him for the rest of the day, considering how those guys had basically beaten him up. As all of them continued watching, someone pointed out that Eunhyeok was right. Such incidents were common in dodgeball. One among them stated that Su-ae and Eunhyeok won the game. However, another person suddenly argued that hitting someone in the face didn't count. A person responded by saying that they had never mentioned that when deciding on the rules earlier, and that was how they had done it last time as well. Based on that, they had won. Eunhyeok approached the other girl and inquired about her well-being, noting that she looked fine. The girl responded that it still hurt, and Minu asked if it hurt a lot. He expressed pity, saying that they had been so close to winning. Eunhyeok's remarks to Minu that he is so competitive. Left alone, Suae walked away as one of her friends commented that Minu had seriously crossed the line. Another friend questioned whether he was actually her boyfriend, stating that his behavior had been harsh. Someone else added that he had been really mean to her that time. Another friend pointed out that Su-ae looked like she was about to cry, and they all seemed worried about her. Even Eunhyeok watched as Su-ae left, wiping his own tears. In the bathroom, Su-ae cried while calling Minu a selfish jerk. Meanwhile, Su-ae, looking at her reflection, took a photo of his own face, wondering if he would feel sorry if he saw her like that. Her eyes were red. Just then, she received a notification from Minu, asking where she was. Entering the classroom, she sat down without saying anything. She noticed the same old strawberry-flavored drink with a note that had the word sorry, accompanied by eyes drawn on Minu. He looked towards Su-ae with pitiful eyes. She smiled slightly as everyone watched. Minu messaged Su-ae asking if she was still mad at him. She replied that she was. Minu remarked that wouldn't his little Soo-ae let it go, and then asked if she would like to go to a movie with him. He even sent a cute sorry emoji. Soo-ae texted back, saying fine, but he would have to buy popcorn. She then showed an okay sign. At that moment, she spotted Eunhyeok glaring at her. Soo-ae asked him what was wrong with him, but before she could respond, she received another message on her Jellypop phone. The message accused her of forgiving him just because he had bought her some milk. She looked at Eunhyeok, thinking about the message, as her phone continued to notify her. She must have thought to herself that Minu must have believed she was a total pushover. Soo-ae, upon seeing those messages, called Eunhyeok a freaking psycho. Suddenly, someone asked who she was talking about. Stunned, Soo-ae looked up to find a teacher standing next to her, questioning who exactly she was calling a psycho. Quickly, Soo-ae responded that it was the main character in a novel she had been reading. The teacher, unimpressed, lightly hit her on the head and told her to cut the nonsense and focus on class. The teacher then reminded everyone that the mid-semester exams were approaching, urging them to pay attention. Soo-ae glanced at Eunhyeok and silently cursed him. After school, Soo-ae was shocked to learn that Ra-im would be joining them. Minu confirmed it, questioning why she was surprised. Soo-ae hesitated before admitting that she had thought it was just going to be a date between the two of them. Soo-ae told him to wait while she finished cleaning duty. As she left, she thought about how he was supposed to be making it up to her. Minu reassured her that it was fine and told her to hurry up, warning that they would leave without her if she took too long. Quickly, Soo-ae finished her cleaning duty, ensuring that everything was in order. As she was leaving, she was called back by Eunhyeok, stating that she had forgotten the trash cans, but Soo-ae has already left. In the bathroom, she put on some Make Eunhyeok kept thinking about how long it had been since they last went on a proper date. However, as she walked toward the classroom, she was suddenly stunned. She noticed Eunhyeok, who appeared shocked, as if he had just seen a ghost. Soo-ae, confused, wondered what had happened inside the classroom to make him look that way. As she stepped closer and looked through the glass, she was utterly shocked. Thoughts raced through her mind as she realized that Eunhyeok had been too slow. He should have moved a little faster if he had wanted to stop him from seeing it, because right there, in front of Soo-ae, Ra-im and Minu were kissing each other. As Eunhyeok tried to cover Soo-ae's eyes, Ra-im noticed them and looked in their direction. Soo-ae quickly took Eunhyeok inside another classroom. Ra-im glanced around but found nothing, prompting Minu to ask what was wrong. Ra-im replied that it was nothing, just that she thought she had heard something. Meanwhile, inside the classroom, Soo-ae slammed Eunhyeok against the wall. Eunhyeok questioned what was going on, but Soo-ae immediately covered Eunhyeok's mouth with his hand and gestured with his index finger to keep quiet. Tears welled up in his eyes. Outside, Ra-im wondered if Soo-ae was still not done and questioned what was taking her so long. She debated whether she should try calling her. Minu remarked that she must really want Soo-ae to come with them. He then added that he hoped Soo-ae wouldn't join them. At that moment, Soo-yeok's eyes widened abruptly, and tears started falling. Minu mentioned that they could go watch the movie together, just the two of them. Inside the classroom, Soo-yeok, Eunhyeok overheard everything. Soo-yeok burst into tears while Eunhyeok, confused by the situation, didn't know what to do. Breaking the silence, Eunhyeok asked how long Soo-yeok planned to stand there, since she couldn't stay all night. Looking at her phone, Soo-ae told him that she would see him later. Eunhyeok asked where she was going. When Soo-ae replied that she was going to watch the movie, Eunhyeok was shocked. He questioned whether she was really going to see the movie instead of confronting them. He asked if that was really what she wanted, or if she was truly that spineless. Looking at her with wide eyes, Soo-ae asked why he couldn't bear to witness how much of an idiot she was. Eunhyeok was taken aback and questioned what she meant. Soo-ae accused Eunhyeok of pretending not to understand. Soo-ae stated that he knew exactly what she was talking about. Soo-ae then pointed out that every day she noticed the way he looked at her, as if he thought she was pathetic. Soo-ae warned him that if he had something to say, he should say it to her face rather than talk behind her back like a coward. Soo-ae, stepping closer, told him that if it was so hard for him to hear, then he should stop looking at her with those pitiful eyes. As she stepped outside and walked down the stairs, she muttered that he was being ridiculous. Tears still filled her eyes as she called him out for judging her. She questioned what any of it had to do with him and why he thought he had the right to say anything. As her tears continued falling, Sue-yi recalled Minu's remark about hoping she wouldn't join them so that they could watch the movie together, just the two of them. She thought about how she lacked the courage to follow them. Picking up her phone, she made a call, trying to mask her emotions. She told Ra-im that she had gone to the cram school for an impromptu session and that they should enjoy the movie without her. Apologizing, she thought about how she would have to pretend like nothing had happened. Just then, her Jellypop phone buzzed with a notification. The message read, "Pathetic," followed by another one stating to her that he wondered if there was seriously something wrong with her. Later that night, in the children's playground, Sue-yi hid inside one of the play structures. Her mind was filled with thoughts about what she had seen earlier, Ra-im kissing Minu. She wondered if that was the first time or if it had happened before. Questions flooded her mind about what Ra-im was thinking when she had confided in her about Minu. She recalled a conversation they had in the past while lying on the bed. Back then, Sue-yi had revealed that she had tried to kiss Min, but kept changing the subject and cracking jokes instead. Ra-im had laughed and called it funny, mentioning that Min was sometimes clueless. With a blushing face, Sue-yi had admitted that she had grabbed Min's face. Ra-im had teased her, repeating that she had grabbed his face, and Sue-yi then remarked with sparkling eyes she kissed him. Ra-im had further teased Sue-yi, calling her cool for doing that. Sue-yi then commented that Minu might look grown up on the outside, but inside he was still just a child. She mentioned that it might be because he was born in December. That was why, according to Sue-yi, she should make sure to teach him well. Ra-im then commented that it wasn't Sue-yi's first kiss too, therefore Ra-im then suggested that Sue-yi needed some practice before teaching someone else. Sue-yi had immediately reacted, asking what Ra-im was talking about. She then remarked that she had kissed a boy before. Ra-im had yelled in surprise, asking why Sue-yi had never mentioned it before. Shocked, Sue-yi had screamed, clarifying that she had only given a peck, not a French kiss. Sue-yi then questioned if Ra-im was out of her mind. Ra-im had laughed, teasing that she had thought Sue-yi had really kissed Minu. She had continued teasing, calling Sue-yi precious and acting as if a mere peck was a big deal. Sue-yi had told her that she and Minu weren't ready for a French kiss yet, emphasizing that he was still a kid and needed time to grow up. Now in the present, Sue-yi cried as she recalled those words. She wondered how naive she had been. Who was the one that truly needed to grow up? As her phone buzzed, she saw a message from Ra-im. Ra-im had asked how school was and sent pictures of food, mentioning how delicious the burgers were. She had added that Minu had already devoured 2 burgers, calling him a pig. Sue-yi stared at the message, unsure of what to do. As she arrived home, she found 2 toasters on the table with a note. The note, left by Ra-im, said that the toasters were for her in case she was hungry after school. Sue-yi picked up the note and read it again. The only thing she felt from the food and the supposedly heartfelt message was deceit. It was such a blunt lie. Feeling frustrated, she stormed into Ra-im's room, threw the note at her, and told her to get up. Ra-im woke up and immediately questioned what was wrong. The Sue-yi confronted her, demanding how she dared to ask that and whether she thought it was funny to make her look like a fool. Ra-im, confused, responded by asking what she was talking about, as Sue-yi was making no sense. The Sue-yi revealed that she had seen her with Minu and had witnessed her kissing them. There was a brief pause before Ra-im, laughing, remarked that she had seen that. The Sue-yi, shocked, asked what exactly she meant by that. To her surprise, Ra-im inquired about when she had seen them. Was it at school earlier, in front of the house yesterday, or perhaps in their room? That left the Sue-yi in further shock. Trying to process everything, she grabbed her notes and took a look inside. The next morning, Ra-im woke her up, questioning why she was still in bed when they were already running late. She urged her to get up, mentioning that her eyes looked puffy. Ra-im advised her to wash her face with cold water to reduce the puffiness before leaving the room. The Sue-yi, still groggy, wondered if everything that had happened had just been a dream. However, while brushing her teeth, She thought back to the events and reassured herself that it definitely had not been a dream. As she put on her uniform, she considered just confronting Ra-im outright, telling her that she had seen everything and asking why she had kissed Minu. She knew she needed to interrogate her, and she expected to get angry in the process. The Sui recalled how in situations like that, the most appropriate response would be to first slap her boyfriend in the face and break up with him. The second step would be to slap her best friend and tell her that she never wanted to see her again. Breaking up with Minu was understandable, but the real question was what to do about Ryan. How could she possibly break up with her? What would happen when their parents started asking questions? If she revealed that Ryan had been having an affair with her boyfriend, she would undoubtedly be thrown out of the house. Her parents would comment that was precisely why strangers could not be easily welcomed into one's home, because betrayals like that could happen. She imagined Ra-im's clothes being thrown out as well. But then another thought struck her. If Ra-im were kicked out, she would have nowhere to go. The Sui recalled Ra-im telling her how her father had left her mother when he discovered she was pregnant, and how her mother had struggled to raise her alone before tragically dying in an accident. That memory still weighed heavily on her. The Sui realized that she could not do that to her. Suddenly, Ra-im touched her cheek with a spoon, shocking the Sui into screaming. Ra-im, amused, asked why she was so startled and pressed the cold spoon to her eyes, saying it would help reduce the puffiness. Smiling, she added that Minu would make fun of her if she didn't do something about it. The Sui, frustrated, thought that she had missed her chance to confront her. As the three of them, Sui, Minu, and Ra-im, walked together, Ra-im and Minu engaged in conversation. Minu mentioned hearing that their class was going to have an English vocabulary quiz that day. Ra-im confidently responded that she was completely prepared. Minu, impressed, remarked that she sure seemed confident and jokingly reminded her not to forget to share the answers afterward. The Sui, growing increasingly irritated by their interaction, reflected on how her once uneventful and dull life had now become filled with so much drama. She couldn't help but feel awkward about it. As she walked, she noticed that her shoelaces were untied, so she bent down to fix them. While tying them, she glanced up at the two of them and suddenly realized how obvious everything had been all along. How could she have been so blind? Just then, Ra-im noticed that the Sui had fallen behind and asked what she was doing. The Sui quickly apologized and lied, saying she had forgotten some supplies at home and telling them to go ahead without her. Ra-im called out, offering to wait, but the Sui insisted that they should just go on without her. At school, the disciplinary head was already making rounds. The Sui thought to herself that her luck had been awful lately. The teacher was scolding late students, questioning where they had been and what they had been thinking. As a punishment, all the late students were ordered to do squat laps. The Sui couldn't help but wonder why the disciplinary head had been so harsh that day. While outside, the Sui received a call from a friend who asked why she wasn't in class. The friend warned her that the disciplinary head was actively searching for late students, rounding them up and making them run laps around the track. The Sui shivered at the thought. Her options were either to do the squat laps, skip school entirely, or drop out, though skipping school would risk getting her kicked out of the house. Looking around, she spotted some students climbing over the school wall to sneak inside. Realizing that that could be her escape, she rushed toward the wall, but when she got close, she found that she was too short to climb it. Just then, she noticed a tall boy approaching the school, wearing slippers, a hoodie, and no uniform, not even a tie. He was definitely going to get more than just a few squat laps. As Sui tries to reach out to him by calling, then suddenly grabs him by his back. Recognizing him as Eunhyeok immediately, the Sui cursed her luck. Of all the people she could have encountered, it had to be him. She recalled a previous confrontation she had with him in the classroom, where she had accused him of multiple things. Horrifying memories from yesterday resurfaced. Eunhyeok, the boy, casually remarked whether she usually manhandled people without their consent, referring to all the pushing and pulling she had done to him against the wall yesterday. The Sui, taken aback, was momentarily at a loss for words. Eunhyeok then asked her directly what she wanted. The Sui, sweating nervously, struggled to find the right words before finally blurting out that she needed help climbing the wall. She immediately cursed her luck, realizing how shameless she sounded. She quickly explained that she couldn't climb it on her own. Since she had already asked, she figured she might as well go with it. Trying to make the situation seem more logical, she suggested that if they helped each other over the fence, they could both avoid getting caught and facing punishment. She proposed it as an agreement. Eunhyeok looked at her skeptically, but then, without a word, started walking. The SUE, determined, called after him, warning that the disciplinary head was at the gate that day. If he walked in looking like that, he would surely be forced to do laps until the classes were over. Eunhyeok stopped walking and, after a brief moment of consideration, asked how she planned to do that. Eunhyeok told Soo-ie to just put her foot there and climb up in one go, assuring her that there was no need to rush. She had to step on him more than once while doing it. Eunhyeok remarked that if she couldn't make it on the first try, he would climb up by using his back as a step stool. Soo-ie looked at him in shock and remarked that it was all right and she would get it. She then asked if he was ready, and after he agreed, she climbed with Eunhyeok's help and got onto the fences. Soo-ie, shocked, remarked that she actually did it, while Eunhyeok apologized, saying that it was true he had some trouble understanding her, but he never thought she was an idiot. Soo-ie wondered what he was talking about as she climbed over the fences, recalling their previous conversation where she furiously told him to stop looking at her like that before she made him. She thanked him and remarked that it was fine, also apologizing for what she said yesterday. Soo-ie admitted that she just got mad because of his text, which was why she was so worked up. Eunhyeok, looking too shocked, asked, "Texts? What was she talking about, since he didn't even have her number?" Soo-ie, still on the fence, questioned if he was really sticking to that lie, while the confused Eunhyeok remarked that she did the right thing breaking up with him, as she must know by now that he didn't think Minu was not a good person. Soo-ie realized what he was thinking and went along with it, thinking if he really thought she had broken up with Minu. Sitting on the fence, she thought there was no need to explain everything to him right then. Instead, she extended her hand from the fence and told him she would help. Eunhyeok was shocked by it as Soo-ie insisted that it was her turn to help him, looking at her. He stared back at her, thinking she looked like a princess offering her hand, but if he tried to climb up with her help, they would both fall. Eunhyeok remarked that they should forget the idea that she could possibly pull him up. Soo-ie reminded him that they had promised to help each other. He then took out his bag, tossed it inside, and told her to just put it on her desk. Soo-ie called out to Eunhyeok, telling him to wait, but he had already moved forward inside. Then Soo-ie gets down from the fence. She looked around, thinking about Eunhyeok's previous comment that she did the right thing breaking up with Minu, and how he had said she must know by now that Minu wasn't a good person. She recalled the previous texts in the chat, the messages questioning if Minu still thought he was her boyfriend, the sarcastic remarks about her forgiving him just because she bought some milk, the internet cafe girlfriend, and all the other insults. Soo-ie was convinced it was 100% him. He was the only other person who knew everything. But then, why was he acting so indifferent? Was it like an alter ego or something? Lost in thought, she suddenly bumped into something and fell, Eunhyeok's Jellypop phone flying out of his bag. In a rush, Soo-ie collected Eunhyeok's Jellypop phone and was relieved to see it was completely fine. She entered the school, still deep in thought. As she looked toward the classroom, her mind kept replaying the kiss Minu and Ra-im had shared previously. Why did they have to be so close to her seat anyway? Suddenly, Minu bumped into Soo-ie, shocking her. She screamed and tossed Eunhyeok's bag aside. Minu laughed, calling her funny, and asked why she was acting so vulnerable. He remarked that it was a shame no one else was there to see it. Soo-ie, cleaning her clothes as she got up, picked up Eunhyeok's bag. Minu then remarked, "Wait a minute, isn't that Eunhyeok's bag? Why was she holding that?" Soo-ie looked at Minu, realizing he might be a little jealous. Recalling his previous kiss with Ra-im, she thought she was right and remarked that it was none of his business. She wondered why he was acting so offended. What was he so upset about? Minu, taken aback, asked what she meant by that. If it wasn't his business, then whose was it? He was her boyfriend, wasn't he? Minu asked why she was saying things like that. Minu, irritated, demanded to know why Soo-ie was talking that way. Was she still mad at him? Then, suddenly, someone grabbed Minu's shoulder from behind. Then, suddenly, he pushed Eunhyeok's hand away. Eunhyeok scoffed and remarked, "What's wrong with her? She dumped his ass, so it's none of his business anyway." As Minu questioned what Eunhyeok was talking about, he wondered if he had been dumped. He questioned whether Eunhyeok had lost his mind. Soo-yi started sweating, yelling in her mind that she hadn't broken up with him yet. Minu yelled, insisting that she hadn't ended things with Soo-yi, while Soo-yi questioned why the atmosphere had suddenly become so tense. The surrounding people began gossiping, speculating whether they were fighting. Soo-yi grew anxious, worried that people might overhear their conversation. If Eunhyeok revealed that he had seen Soo-yi and Ra-im kissing, and if others found out about it, they would learn that Soo-yi had cheated. The situation would become a complete mess, and people would take sides, portraying Soo-yi as a victim, which was something Soo-yi wanted to avoid. She wondered if they really had to have that conversation in the hallway. As Soo-yeok processed everything, she stepped forward, yelling to separate them. He instructed them to wait, prompting Eunhyeok to question what she was doing. Soo-yeok decided that stopping them was the priority. With sweat forming on her face, she revealed to Eunhyeok that they had not broken up yet. Then she took Minu inside the classroom, informing him that their breakup was just a misunderstanding. Eunhyeok, baffled by Soo-ye's statement, looked at her with shocked eyes. Trying to process what had just happened, he finally grasped the situation. As he began to judge Soo-ye remarked that he could judge all he wanted. While sitting, she wondered why she had done that. What on earth had she told Eunhyeok to make him believe they had broken up? Soo-ye recalled a conversation with Minu, questioning what exactly had been said to Eunhyeok to make him assume the relationship had ended. Deciding they would talk about it later, Soo-ye remained confused. Suddenly, her friend approached and asked if she had fought with Minu and Eunhyeok. Her friends looked at her with concern, while one of them, smiling, commented that they had gotten used to Soo-ye's frequent quarrels. Soo-ye questioned why that was the case. Another friend asked why she was wearing her indoor slippers, and yet another remarked that she must have been too preoccupied with the quarrel to notice. Soo-ye dismissed their concerns, telling them to think whatever they wanted. However, in her mind, she couldn't stop thinking about Minu's jealousy. Even though it seemed like jealousy on the surface, it unsettled her. It made her waver in her resolve to break up with him, despite everything that had happened the day before. She wondered why, despite it all, he still appeared so handsome while playing with their friends. Frustrated, Soo-ye ran her fingers through her hair, questioning how shameless she had become. Did she really care so much about physical appearance? Suddenly, her friend approached and asked if she wanted some cheering up. Soo-ye remarked that she wasn't in the mood. Her friend, taken aback, then showed her something. Soo-ye looked toward the book in her friend's hands and realized what it was. Her friend commented that maybe she should take it back. Soo-ye stared at it and recognized it as Cindy, the Black Rose of Versailles, a famous romance manhwa series. The series had been a huge hit since its publication in 1997, but had never been completed due to the writer's sudden passing. It was a half-written classic masterpiece. Compared to when it was first published, reading it now might seem immature and childish. However, Soo-ye had fallen in love with the series when she was 10 years old. Once she became obsessed with something, she never got tired of it. Even to that day, she remained fascinated by the series. Holding the book in her hands, she questioned her friend about where she had gotten it. Soo-ye mentioned to her friend that they had stopped printing and selling Volume 16 a long time ago. Even when the first edition was still in production, only 2,000 copies had been printed. Most of them had already been distributed, but around 50 copies had been smuggled out by factory workers. Rumors suggested that these copies would sometimes appear on the black market at exorbitant prices. Her friend, shocked by all the details, hesitated and considered taking the book back. Soo-ye, on the other hand, thought that no matter how upset she was, she wouldn't let negative emotions ruin her enjoyment of Cindy. As she closed her locker, she found Eunhyeok standing there. Looking toward him, she mentally called out to God, thinking about how awkward the situation was. Turning around, she tried to avoid him, but Soo-ye was suddenly called by Minu's friend, who was asking her to throw the ball. Minu was also watching her. Soo-ye noticed his sour expression and wondered if he expected her to console him. Ignoring Minu, she called out to Eunhyeok. Eunhyeok pointed at himself in confusion, and Soo-ye, sweating and feeling awkward, shivered as she asked if the phone he had was his. Soo-ye confirmed that she had dropped it earlier and apologized. As Soo-ye looked around, Eunhyeok did the same. Then, he casually commented that if Soo-ye was really sorry, she should buy him a snack from the school store. Without hesitation, he tossed the ball aside, shocking the others. They wondered what he was doing and called after Soo-ye, asking if she was coming or not. Soo-ae agreed and left with Eunhyeok, while Minu stood there, shocked, watching them leave. As they walked away, Minu questioned what had just happened. As Eunhyeok leaves the cafeteria, Soo-ae had a sparkling in her eyes while looking at the chocolate popsicles in her hands. She was happy as it came apart perfectly. As she moved out of the cafeteria, she notes that her shoes were untied again. She gets annoyed by it and realizes that she needs to buy a new pair of shoes. Eunhyeok kept on moving forward while having his drink, then suddenly Soo-ae gives her one popsicle, telling him that he wants the half. Eunhyeok looked at the stunt as he watched Soo-ae smiling brightly, then replied that he doesn't like pop slices, and adds that he doesn't like the others to drill it all over their hands. Eunhyeok then moves forward, leaving Soo-ae frozen for a moment. Soo-ae looks towards him with the shocking gears, thinking, was he being serious? Then she follows him and apologizes. Eunhyeok questions the Soo-ae about what she apologizes for. Soo-ae replied that early in the morning she put him in a tricky spot as she hadn't told him that she didn't break up with Minu. Soo-ae feels embarrassed and brushes completely red. As there was a brief moment of silence between them, then Soo-ae thinks that was it then. She questions Eunhyeok. He won't ask her anything, he replied, that he needs to say something. Soo-ae inquired. Won't he ask him why she hasn't broken up with Minu? Eunhyeok replied that he needs to do that. Soo-ae replies, no, then remarks that he might think that how weird she was as she saw him kissing the other girl, and yet she hadn't broken up with him yet. Eunhyeok then, because of flashbacks where he saw a woman at the table waiting with a lighted candle, Eunhyeok remarks that it was weird, but then tell her that she must have a reason, as people don't mirror reason to act the same as everyone else, but when they act differently, there must be a reason for that. Soo-ae stares at him. Eunhyeok comments that she probably has one too. Then, he moves forward while sipping his drink. Soo-ae wonders, was this really the Eunhyeok she knew? A boy comes running toward them and accidentally steps on Soo-ae's laces. As she moves forward, she trips and is about to hit the ground when Eunhyeok catches her just in time. Eunhyeok looks back, cursing the boy for not even apologizing. Then, she asks Eunhyeok to hold the pop slices so she can tie her shoelaces. Eunhyeok looks at her hand and notices the pop slices dripping. He sighs, then kneels down and starts tying Soo-ae's laces. Shocked, Soo-ae questions what he's doing. Eunhyeok simply replies that he already told her. He hates getting his hands messy. Soo-ae blushes in embarrassment. Just then, she spots Ra-im and her friend approaching. Panicking, she grabs Eunhyeok and hides behind the bushes. Eunhyeok, confused, asks Soo-ae what's going on, but she's too focused on tracking where Ra-im went. Suddenly, Eunhyeok notices the pop slices dripping onto Soo-ae's hand. To prevent the mess, he quickly takes them from her. And Soo-ae stares at him like a curious yellow cat. Amused, Eunhyeok asks why she's looking at him like that. Soo-ae reminds him that he just said he hates getting stuff on his hands. Eunhyeok pauses for a moment before smirking. Was Ya hiding a hobby of hers or something? She really does act like a cat. Soo-ae replied that it wasn't her hobby. She was just trying to avoid Ra-im for a while since it was better for her mental health. Suddenly, Soo-ae noticed that the pop slices were dripping too quickly onto his hand. She quickly told him to wait as the syrup spread all over his fingers. Without hesitation, she took back the pop slices and quickly ate them like a frog, making Eunhyeok laugh. Eunhyeok questioned, what the heck was that? Soo-ae replied, asking what he meant by that. Inside the cafeteria, Ra-im's friend told her that she wanted the same snack as Soo-ae, and Ra-im agreed. As Ra-im was looking for something, she spotted Eunhyeok through the window. When she called out to him, she was taken aback as she found him laughing so brightly.